Right now, we doubt there's any show that has received as much appreciation as Virgin River. The show is everywhere, and we see the reasons behind this fame. The series is based on a book series, but can the fans actually predict what's coming next if they read the books? Well, it looks like the show is quite different from what the books suggest. Let's see how the two are different. Let's get started. First up, the show has a much shorter timeline as compared to the books. The show and the books have a significant difference regarding the time frame. The show has 4 seasons at the moment, and it's been a year since the protagonist, Mel, decided to start living in Virgin River. The books, on the other hand, have a much larger time frame. The logical reason behind this is that when writing, one can provide much more explanation as compared to actually visually representing it all. No wonder the series is way too fast, and events just keep happening. The events we see in the show happen faster than they happen in the books. This ultimately means that many of the details are edited out to make the story fit in the time allotted to an episode. Next up, Vanessa is just a book character. If you've read the books, you know that several relationships with strong romance were not presented in the series, even though their importance in the series is super important. Along with that, there are several characters that didn't make it to the series. One of them was the character of Vanessa, whom we meet in the book Second Chance Pass. In the book, her character settles in the Virgin River after her husband's tragic death. While moving here, the thing that's on her mind is to fall in love again and move on with her life. While doing so, she finally does find someone to love who turns out to be a friend of her late husband, and that's how she finds a connection with her lost love. The world of Virgin River is spread over 21 books, which ultimately means that the story expands beyond the lives and romance of Mel and Jack. But because the producers of the show wanted a much more pared-down movie, they had to extract several other love stories and individual characters from the story. While talking about this matter, Sue Tenney, the showrunner of the series, stated that she and the producers had to handpick certain characters so that the writers could showcase them. This is why there's a massive difference between the series storylines and the books, and that's one reason why Vanessa isn't present in the series. But we get a good piece of the story from her in the books. Not just that, the way Mel's husband dies is also different in both mediums. Mel's husband, Mark, dies in both the series and the books, but there's a big difference in the way it happens. The tragedy takes a toll on Mel's mental health, which rocks her entire life, and this was an important event that led to the next ones in her life that actually make up the series. In the book, Mark dies in a crossfire as he gets stuck in a robbery situation at a convenience store. There, he gets shot and passes away. But in the series, yes, you guessed it right, he dies after getting into a car crash. He sustains severe injuries and doesn't make it. In the series, we see Mel and Mark in a car and getting into an argument. Right when he takes an eye off the road, they get into a horrific accident where Mark doesn't make it and passes away. The only thing that makes this change in the way of death make sense is that they simply wanted the series to be more emotional and a lot more about the couple. Also, this way, the focus went on Mel much more than it would have been if the same way from the book opted. She feels like she is the one to be blamed for, but in the books, there's no such feeling. Following up, Jack isn't so irritable in the books. We know you won't admit it, but the Jack we see in the series is a little bit annoying. Not because of his actions, but because the actor playing the role can't really correlate to the character. One fan who read the books and watched the series said that Jack's character isn't that likable, but if you read the books, he's much more likable and lovely. The problem we think here is that even though everyone seems to like romance heroes, this specific genre doesn't always translate well with some actors, especially when compared with a book character who is impossibly perfect. We don't blame the series Jack for this because he's human, but the book Jack for being so good that he's actually too good to be true. But we hope they can make him a bit better now after listening to our opinion. Following up, Doc and Hope are portrayed a bit differently in the series as compared to the books. Doc is one of the most important characters in the series as well as the books. Mel works with him in Virgin River, and he's shown as someone who's a bit gruff in the books. But in the reading, he isn't represented as someone cruel. However, things are different in the series. He's presented as a cruel man in the very first season of the series. Apart from that, a lot more stuff makes his character different from the one we read about in the book. Just like that, a Reddit user pointed out that Hope's character in the show is also significantly different from what we read about her in the series. The Redditor says that the vibe of the character is a bit off in the series, while in the books it wasn't like that. Some think that it's because of the actor playing the role. They believe that the character could have been much better. Not just that, Doc and Hope have a different relationship in the series than they have in the book. We never get to see them make their relationship official in the books, but in the TV series, they are super official, and that's one reason why we get so many of those romantic and heartwarming quotes in the series. Another big difference is Charmaine's importance in both mediums. With the next season on its way, we can't be sure if some of the characters will even make it to the new installment, nor can we say that they'll continue to grow or have more screen time. But fans have noticed that Charmaine is playing a much bigger and more important role in the series than she did in the book. In fact, if you notice, her character seems to have gotten a lot more important in the second season. Up next, we believe Virgin River fans are the only fan base who actually love the series more than the book. No wonder the show is one of the most watched shows on Netflix at the moment. It's pretty clear that the fan base is much more in love with the series than the original books. If not all, most of the fans do actually prefer the show over the book series, and this is probably because of some of the major differences that we discussed. First, not all fans want to see every character in the book portrayed by some actors. While it could have had a totally opposite effect, fans actually like the way how the show has focused on the two main characters. And at the same time, they've also made some barely mentioned characters some of the most important ones in the show, which once again makes fans curious about how this change affects the storyline. Following up, let's dive a bit deeper into why fans prefer the show more. Well, when there isn't a trend of fans loving the series more than the books, it's quite hard to digest the fact that, yes, Virgin River fans do actually like the show better. But, well, they have their reasons, and we totally agree with them. One Redditor stated that the books fetishized the Marines and the military overall, which was obviously disgusting. Another one said that the series isn't full of tropes like books. On top of that, they also believe that we get to see a much more romantic couple in the series than in the books. Not just that, another Redditor stated that Lizzie's story in the book is presented as way too dramatic, but they are glad that the series did justice to her and that she got to age perfectly because her entire storyline was altered. Well, that's a first. Imagine something like that coming out of a Harry Potter nerd's mouth. But at the same time, some fans also believe that the book storyline for the preacher was much better, and the series only ruined it. Not to mention, some fans believe that books are much sexier. While there are some good things in the series, it has some cons too. It's true that the series might not live up to the books, but we believe that was never intended anyway. If you've read the novels, you'll know instantly that the show isn't as sexy as the books. The series is exceptionally family-friendly, and you don't really have to embarrass yourself and act like you're zoned out looking out in space whenever a hot, sizzling scene comes up, because there are almost never any of those scenes in the show. But the books are super sexy, and it's good to hide them in your closet so your parents don't find them. Yes, even if you're 40 years old, they'll definitely embarrass you. While talking about it, Carr said that the story, when presented on the screen, needed to have a plot where two people were dealing with real-life issues. They had to find real ways to solve the problems as well. It can be counseling that they need, or some medical intervention. In short, for a series, they need to come up with a reasonable conclusion and become positive role models. But, well, they can be good in other ways too, right? And this is all for today, fam. What do you think about these differences between the books and the show? Do let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back with more amazing videos soon. See you in the next one.